Salutations, spooks, spirits, and specters, and welcome back to more Corpse Party, Book of Shadows, as Chapter 3 continues. It seems things are a little bit more different this time around, as it's more of a choose-your-own-adventure kind of style instead of the kind of exploration that the previous two chapters have. At least as far as I can tell, because so far I haven't had to wander around, I've just had to make these wonderful decisions, like do I stay hiding from a possible threat or do I just make a break for it? And you know what? I say fudge it. Let's make a break for it. Please let it. Staying in one place for too long seemed like it would be inviting trouble, so I took a deep breath and reluctantly crawled out as quietly as I could. But almost immediately, I felt something. Tap. Something long and thin had struck me in the back of the head. Or perhaps struck isn't the right word. There was a little force behind it, but it wasn't a hard slam. More like someone trying to get my attention.
木の棒？これは指？
I knew I wouldn't like what I was going to see, but I had to face whatever this was, so I turned around. And there, looming over me, was...
まだ残ってるの?
A figure was peering down at me from above the podium, with one emaciated wishbone-like finger extended toward my face. I recognized this person instantly. No doubt about it. This was the strange old woman who'd supposedly passed away earlier. I was scared out of my mind. I tumbled the rest of the way out from under the podium and shot to my feet. A ghost. There really was a ghost in this school. My breathing was ragged and my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. Plowing through all the desks in my way, I ran as fast as I could toward the classroom door. But that was as far as I could go.
どうしたの?
There, on the other side of the door, tight up against the glass, was the old woman. She was glowing bluish white, the source of the light from earlier. But how in the world did she get to the door before I did? How did she get out of the room so quickly and position herself so perfectly to block my exit? I felt like I was starting to hyperventilate and tried as best as I could to calm my breathing as my eyes darted around the room. I needed to get out of here now. To get as far away from this place as possibly as far away from this place as I possibly could.
前のドアから出られないとなると、外に出るには後ろのドアから出るしか。でもそうすると、廊下は前のドアにいるあの幽霊の後ろを通らないと出口には着かない。そんなの無理。でも
I bit my lip and continued scanning the room.
何かあれに対抗できるようなものがあればいいんだけど。
I didn't have time to think carefully about it. I just had to grab something and hope for the best. There were two choices, and I had to pick one on impulse before it was too late. Bag of salt?
これって科学の実験の時に使った塩の残りだよね。
They gave me 10 seconds! A bag of salt seems the best thing! A broom's not gonna do anything to a ghost! Right? I always hear about salt, so that's the first thing I thought. Like, broom, salt. That's my choice. This... I'd heard that salt was used in purification rituals, so it seemed like a natural choice.
よし、これを持っていこう。
I placed the salt in my pocket as a sort of protective charm.
怖いけど、行くしかない。
When I looked over, the spirit of the old woman was holding out her hand from the other side of the door frame. She really was trying to catch me. I wasn't just being paranoid. She was going to kill me and turn me into a ghost like her. I was convinced this had to be Yoshi, the teacher from that urban legend.
やだ、そんなの。
Bracing myself, I darted toward the door at the back end of the classroom. There wasn't a moment to lose. If I didn't act fast, I probably wouldn't be able to act at all. I threw the door open and just began running at top speed, hoping to escape behind the spirit's back. Unsurprisingly, trying to outrun a ghost proved to be a fruitless endeavor. The spirit saw me and moved at breakneck speed to intercept. I thrust my hand into my pocket and withdrew the bag of salt, then threw the entire thing directly at the old woman's face. I think it worked.
いるんだ、この隙に。
I ran down the hall as fast as my legs would carry me, briefly glancing over my shoulder after a moment to confirm that the spirit was still writhing. I just kept on running down that dark hallway, with nothing but adrenaline and mortal fear to keep me going. I reached the stairwell at the end of the hall and made a mad dash toward the ground level. I was determined to get out of this building alive. Finally, still moving at top speed, I reached the windowed door leading outside.
もうすぐ、出口だ。
Luckily, the malevolent spirit hadn't caught up to me yet. It actually seemed like I might be able to escape. I might actually survive this.
やっとここまで。
I grabbed the handle and tried pulling it.
やだ、やだ、開かない。なんで、どうしてここまで来て。どうして。開いてよ、開いてよ。どうしよう、このままじゃまたあの化け物に。なんとかしなくちゃ、なんとか。
In case this is another timed section. Run somewhere else.
仕方がない。別の場所に行くしか。
I'd suggest breaking the glass, but with what? I mean, I know you probably have your umbrella there, but that's just gonna slow you down, right? Or maybe I could hide somewhere and throw Yoshi off my trail. I had no particular destination in mind. My only thought was, anywhere but here. After maybe 30 seconds, I found myself in the second floor hallway. There was an outside corridor connecting the two buildings of the school there, and it was the first alternate escape route that came to mind. Naturally, it was walled off from the outside for safety purposes, but the wall wasn't so big that I couldn't scale it in a pinch. I didn't really want to jump from the second floor of the school, but if I had to, I was confident that I'd at least survive the fall with minimal injury.
念のため隠れよう。
I climbed the wall faster than I thought possible and dropped down to the narrow ledge on the other side. It was just wide enough to sit down. My back was to the hallway, but my location should be completely hidden from anyone inside the school. I looked down at the muddy ground below me. I really couldn't see much, though. The outside was completely dark. It was so dark that it felt almost like the whole world had been draped in a black veil.
ここで隠れて朝を待とうか。逃げててもきっといつか捕まるよ。
I opened the pen case in my pocket and pulled out the pencil I received from Tsukasa.
司くん、お願い。
Was I really treating this stubby little pencil as a protective charm? Tsukasa said it would guarantee success on my test, not ward off evil spirits. Still, it was better than nothing. I clutched it tightly in my hands and prayed.
私を守って。
I whispered the words so quietly that I might as well have been mouthing them, but that seemed to be all the opening that damned spirit needed. I sensed a presence on the ledge with me, and was so startled that I almost fell from my perch.
やめてよ、おばあちゃん。どうして。
However, I could only sense her there. I didn't actually see her, and thought for one brief moment that maybe I was letting my imagination run wild. But then I felt the horrible sensation of something coiling itself around my arm.
外は行けませんよ。
Before I knew it, a tall, shadowy figure had half emerged from the wall behind me, and she had me in her grasp. There wasn't much more to her than an indistinct, flickering silhouette, but I could clearly see she had a broken neck. Was this a different apparition? Her scraggly, root-like fingers were squeezing my arm with tremendous force, pushing aside muscle and tissue, and pressing right on the bone.
なんなの？誰なの？どこに行くの？もう少しだから待って。痛い！
I was shaking hysterically, and tears were streaming down my face. I was absolutely convinced that I was going to die here.
離して！
I could offer no resistance. She was too strong. All I could do was plead with her.
やめて、痛いよ。
I felt like my arm would snap in two at any moment.
ずーっと一緒にいましょうね。
She wasn't just grabbing, but twisting as well. The pain was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. I couldn't think about anything else. Stopping it had become my first and only priority. I struggled violently against the spirit's grip, ultimately breaking free by throwing my body off the wall toward the unseen earth below. In the face of death, everything really does seem to slow down. I'd read somewhere that this is because the brain is sending out all kinds of distress signals or something. Slow motion or not, though, I was fully aware of my surroundings. I was cascading through the air just outside my school building. As much as I think I know what I should probably do, just to save, prey upon the pencil. If this is a dream, please, let me wake up from it right now. Those were the words echoing through my head as I clutched Tsukasa's pencil tight against my bosom, like a prayer talisman. Moments later, I crashed into the ground, and a horrible squelching sound echoed in my ears. My neck was Tsukasa's pencil had pierced deep into my throat. Blood was spurting everywhere. I was practically drowning in it. I'd landed right on it, and it wasn't long before I gasped my final gasp. Well, I'm glad I at least saved. This one right here. Yes, from right here. Reach out hands. I was pretty sure this fall would kill me. With a controlled jump, I might have been able to survive, but I was tumbling like a rag doll. I was a goner. I couldn't even remember what you were supposed to do in a situation like this. Try to flip over? Brace for impact? In one last-ditch attempt at survival, I stretched out both my arms. Maybe somebody would be waiting there to grab them. Maybe somebody would save me. And somebody actually did! I honestly wasn't expecting that. I really thought there was no hope. But then, at the last second, I was yanked to safety.
シド！スカイさんが！
大丈夫か？つかめ、俺の腕！
I held onto his arms with all my might, and against seemingly impossible odds, I was pulled in. My life was saved. This was like a scene out of some anime. It shouldn't have happened. It was too convenient, but I wasn't about to complain.
よく頑張ったな。
どうして司くん。
今はしのごの言ってる場合じゃない。逃げるぞ。
Tsukasa was still holding on to me tightly after coming to my rescue. He took off down the hall, back into the heart of the school, with me in tow.
ちくしょう、なんだよさっきのは。俺は夢でも見てるのか。
He practically spit these words as he continued running.
どうしてここに司くんが。
I tried to match his gait, but once we were a bit more in sync, I looked up at his face. He was fast. After we'd reached the end of the hall, he suddenly veered into the last classroom before the stairwell, pulling me in with him.
シシド、お前怪我はないか。
大丈夫。私はもう一人で歩けるから。
ああ、悪い。
I moved away from Tsukasa and almost immediately spilled onto the ground like a house of cards.
おい、大丈夫じゃないじゃん。
そうだけど、でもすぐに。
無理すんなよ。
Tsukasa grabbed my arm to help me up. Unfortunately, it was the arm Yoshi had been twisting.
悪い。やっぱり腕怪我してるのか。
よくわかんない。でもすっごく痛いよ。焼けるみたい。
I draped my other hand over the sore spot, where I assumed there was probably one hell of a bruise. I started rubbing gently, but it didn't help at all.
そうか。じゃあ保健室ですぐに手当てした方がいいな。
でもそしたらまた。
あいつが来るって。
Just thinking about going back out there and facing Yoshi made me shudder. I couldn't believe he was entertaining the idea.
心配すんな。もし仮にあいつが来ても、俺が絶対お前を守ってやるから。な。
司くん。
Tsukasa's gentle reassurance actually made me forget the pain in my arm for a moment. I had to stop myself from blushing, or try to at any rate.
怪我は一刻も早く手当てした方がいいって。まあどうせ先生なんかいないだろうけど、応急手当てくらいなら俺にだってできる。よし、行くぞ。
Tsukasa offered me his hand. and I graciously took it, squeezing it tightly as he led me back out into the hallway.
司くんの手あったかい。
Despite the fact that nothing had really changed, I was still in just as much danger as I had been. The paralyzing fear I'd been feeling was gone. If it were just me, I would have never been able to do this. I would have frozen up, but with Tsukasa leading the way, I felt like I could do anything.
シシド、少し走るけど大丈夫か？
With my blessing, Tsukasa upped his pace significantly.
もうあいつが出てきませんように。
I prayed silently for smooth sailing as I followed Tsukasa's lead.
このまま司くんと一緒にいられれば安心。
I gently squeezed his hand again, as if to reassure myself that he was still with me. I was starting to think maybe Yoshi was gone. Maybe we'd thwarted her. But of course, just as I was thinking that, she made her presence known again. An unearthly voice reverberated through the dark corridor. I immediately drew myself into Tsukasa's back.
もっと連れてこい。
Over Tsukasa's shoulder, I saw the same shadow-like spirit from before. It must have been waiting here to ambush us.
大丈夫、落ち着け。
The ghost was moaning and wavering before us. We'd never be able to get past it.
私のために何でもしてくれる。
おい、シシド。俺があいつを引きつけるから、その隙に走って逃げろ。
やだよ、一緒に逃げて。
俺には秘密兵器があるのさ。俺のばあさんからもらった形見のお守り。さっきあいつにこれを向けたら少し割りやがった。
形見のお守り？
あ
あ。でも司くんやっぱり危険。
俺？まあなんとかなるだろう。
そんな。待ちなさい。
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. So thank you all very much for watching. And ciao for now. Ciao for now.